Hi everyone, we're at game 4 for match 3. Black's jumped up to a big lead, 5-0 to 7, right? So 2 away, 7 away. And so White is looking to make a comeback, which means he's got to use that cube pretty early, all right? So any hint of a decent advantage, any hint of especially gammon threats, got to turn it. And you don't want to be losing your market and trying to make a comeback 1 point at a time, right? Chances, the probability of that are not high. So White is looking to use the cube aggressively. Black, can take a cube unless there's serious gammon threats, right? Because it's true that it's a dead cube. He can't use it because he only needs 2 points. But, if he wins just the game, then the match is over. So that's the situation. Let's see how White does, okay? And, there are a couple interesting decisions here. And I guess the main theme, which you'll hear me talk about in the match, is one of the ideas is be careful about automatic moves that are kind of quite natural at a normal score or at a double match point or something like that. Because, when you have this score imbalance, then you start to play a little differently. You start to be willing to take risks and mix it up a little more and try to create complexity, right? So, watch out for those automatic moves. And in any case, right, you have to be careful about that when you're playing backgammon, but especially when the match score is imbalanced like this. You play a little differently sometimes. Okay, so enjoy and leave some comments or questions or suggestions in the chat. Thanks very much. Okay, so let's start game 4. Black leads 5-0, right? That's 2 away, 7 away. So White really needs to make a push in this game and look for an early double if possible. Okay, Black gets 6-3 as the opening roll, and splits the back checker and brings down from the midpoint. But notice that at such a lead, with such a lead, Black should really try maybe running in this case. Don't need to mix it up so much. I mean, it's not a mistake per se, but generally speaking, when you've got a decent lead, running, you want to kind of aim for uncomplicated games. But still, in this case, if Black wins an undoubled gammon, then that's nice too. So that's a rationale for playing what Black played here, which is the split. But do keep that in mind. Sometimes running is preferable when you've got a good enough lead. Okay, and White rolls something quite powerful, and already his hand is reaching for the cube if Black dances here or doesn't perform well, like with a 1-6 or something like that. But Black is able to anchor, so there's no real point in throwing the cube over yet, right? Especially with White's own back checkers not really having moved yet. So, but 3-3 is a pretty good roll, really improves White's position. Unfortunately, White made a massive mistake. He just moved too quickly. And should have just, obviously hit the outside checker. Just need to pause sometimes and just consider all the variations. It's quite a big mistake, right? It's unfortunate. It does look nice because White's position is quite strong if he's not hit, but no, you win more gammons just by hitting as well, right? Well, always look at all the possibilities before making a move. Well, if you're in time trouble, well, that's another case, but okay. Black doesn't hit, and this is kind of an inconvenient roll, right? Black doesn't want to get hit, and so he just has to kind of bury a checker on the 2. It's really ugly, but That's not much better. Certainly can't break the anchor or anything like that. Yeah, so what can you do? Have to kind of play safe here. And bang, here comes the cube. Okay, so white has a possibility to make a decent prime here. Okay, and with that buried black checker, right, in the home board, that's a very serious weakness for possibly the rest of the game. So, and yeah, white has a decent lead here. So it's time to throw the cube over, okay? And again, this is kind of score-based as well. Just when you're far behind, you really have to look out for opportunities to double early so you don't miss your market, right? You need every little bit of equity, every single point. You need it to make a comeback in this situation. But black is correct to take, right? Especially with the anchor. Yeah, he's got long time security here. Notice the double is pretty close, and that's because of black's anchor. You know, he's not coming off that anchor anytime soon unless he rolls double sixes himself. And so he's got decent long-term survivability. You know? And yeah, the game's far from over. Black could develop his position nicely, and black could get a shot. Right? Okay, so it's a take. Now this 5-1 is kind of interesting. White is, of course, correct to make the 8 point, but then the 1 is interesting, right? XG says slot the 9 point. And the 9 point is really valuable, obviously, right? It blocks those sixes from black's anchor. Okay. And so if you can make this 9 point, that's huge benefit. And now's the time to slot it when black's home board is not very good and he's got this loose checker in his home board. So yeah, really strong move. Wish I'd seen it. But just one of the things that you know, I've started to pay more attention to, right, is the idea of just paying attention to your opponent's home board, especially because a weak home board means that you can really play a little more aggressively and slot more and perhaps even hit in a more risky manner. Okay. And I missed it here, but in general, it's worth just keeping an eye on your opponent's home board and realizing that, yeah, you can actually take some risk, especially if you're behind. Yeah? And note, you know, in a way, you kind of hope that black will, you know, try hitting from the anchor because, you know, it's unlikely he's going to be able to hit and cover. And then, you know, he's left the anchor and he's vulnerable to return shots and doubles and stuff like that. So you do want to complicate the game, and you can afford to take risks with a weak home board of your opponent. So missed opportunity there. Okay, black rolls a 6-2. It seems like not a lot of choices. Generally, when you put a loose checker on the 1 point or the 2 point, then you might as well just cover it. At least it's a point, right? But notice here, it's interesting. Slotting the 5 point is also possible. Yeah, I suppose it's the idea of you got to try to build a decent position, and your back checkers are kind of blocked already. So can we block those white checkers and in a couple nice rolls? Possibly, I guess. But it is a rather bigger move. I can see why some players would be uncomfortable with it. So in any case, that seems like a reasonable move, just making the 2 and bringing down another builder. Now, the 3-2, this is interesting, right? It looks like a natural move, bringing some extra builders in to make the 4-point. But the 4-point is not really the point that White wants to make. White wants to make the 9-point. That's the most valuable point in this position. And so in that case, it makes more sense just to bring these two checkers down, okay? And increase the chances of like a 2-1 or 1-1 or something like that. Or 2-2 to, well, 2-2 won't do it, no. 2-1, 1-1 to make the 9-point, yeah? Yeah. This move aims at the 4-point, but actually the 9-point is what you want to make. So that's better. Okay, Black rolls a 4-3, and he's starting to wonder when he's going to get a decent roll. But this is a bit silly on his part, yeah? I mean, it does look really ugly to put a third checker on the 2-point, but yeah, there's no point in leaving a blot. It's nice to have a spare checker on the 8-point. And, you don't necessarily want to strip the midpoint, okay? And notice putting yet another checker on this very stacked point is pretty ugly as well, okay? So that's also a very serious consideration. And there's no point in leaving a blot and putting a blot behind there as well. So a lot of reasons why might as well just put a extra checker on the 8, and yeah, it's ugly, but maybe you'll be able to make the 1-point in the future, right, with that spare checker. But on the whole, Black's position is yeah, not very nice at this point. And White hits the loose checker. It's nice, 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 right? White would love to get a gammon here. Now, of course, it's going to be difficult with Black having that anchor, but it's possible, right? And the more checkers you send back there, the better. So hit away. Okay, Black comes in immediately. Slotting is okay, but generally speaking, when you have an extra checker behind a prime, you don't always want to keep it on the same point, especially if White has some work to do to get checkers around the board, right? So White's got this checker to get around, and this checker and these checkers to get around. So you might as well kind of diversify with the 1. If White had all his checkers within range, then yeah, you would keep it for safety's sake. But in this case, you might as well come down and see if you can jump out a little more easily. If he hits, you're not happy, but you're not happy if he makes the 4 anyway. So that it does seem a little better. But on the whole, there's also that rationale, right, of just playing the 1 to unstack that 6-point. It's pretty ugly. And if you can not get hit and make the 5-point, then that's a really big advantage as well. Yeah, well, that's a big benefit, I should say. So interesting choice. Yeah, it is a little risky as well, but it pays off in the end for Black. It helps. Okay. White's a little inaccurate here as well. This seems like the natural move, and I'm sure White played it very quickly. But one of the things to think about, especially when you're playing for a gammon, is don't be too quick to release the pressure on your opponent, especially if your opponent has some weaknesses in their position and some blots. You don't necessarily want to take the pressure off, okay? Maybe if there's not so much danger, just leave a checker back and see what happens. Yeah? By taking the pressure off, Black can kind of develop quite easily without any fear and start building his home board. But even keeping back one move or two moves might make a difference in terms of making it uncomfortable for black to develop his position, especially with that stack on the 6 point. Yes, there are certain risks involved, like double ones or double twos or stuff like that. But on the whole, there's more possibilities that this will just make it a little uncomfortable if white stays back. So there are a couple alternatives. One is just going to the 6 point with the one blot. This is very interesting. And again, it's this idea, hey, black's home board is nothing to be afraid of. So you might as well play a little looser and sort of develop your position in a more flexible way, right? Of course, again, there are risks, but not huge risks. Yeah. So interesting. Another kind of thing to consider, right? When you move quickly, just especially in situations where the score is kind of imbalanced, you've got to change your thinking a little, right? White is behind 5, is behind 2 away, 7 away. So white's got to change his thinking a little and not just move automatically like he would in a normal, like double match point game or something like that, or if the score was 0-0, right? So that's an important lesson to remember. Okay, so black is able to make his 5 point, and he slots the 3 point. Nothing much here, just comes in and puts a spare on the 6. Yeah, double ones. This is a little interesting. I mean, some people might think, okay, I'm far behind in the race, so actually I want more contact, so actually I better stay back on the 3 point. Some people might think that possibility, but yeah, black is behind in the race, but large doubles would put him closer in the race, and generally, you want to be at the edge of a prime, right? If white is able to make the 4 point next turn, then that would be, black wouldn't be very happy about that. So it's better for black to take the 4 point. And he still got a decent amount of contact, and taking the 4 point also gives him maybe a few more shots in the outfield. If white rolls something that's, he has to maybe leave a blot in the outfield, give him a few more possibilities of hitting that with either a 5 or 6 combination, right? Okay, just simple coming in, and black is able to jump out to safety with 1 checker. Kaboom! Fantastic roll. Talk about a big racing lead now, and it's very nice to have cleared that midpoint without any drama. So now white is looking very good indeed. Okay, this is an example where, if white had not doubled earlier, then black would clearly let this go, or even earlier, right? So getting in that early double when you're far behind does allow you to squeeze maximum points out of a position instead of losing your market thanks to some good rolls that you didn't expect. Okay, 3-1, nothing much to comment here. 5-2, yeah. 8-6-7-2 is possible as well. Okay, just clearing both points, but white decides to do it this way. Not a big difference. Okay, 3-2. And another fantastic racing roll. Okay, and actually, black's got to do some work now to save the gammon, right? It's not so clear that he's going to get off the gammon if he's not able to roll decently, and if white is able to get another big double, for example. So, okay, and black decides, you know what, I better play to save the gammon, but XG says, no need to quite panic. Yeah, you can play the 6 to the 6 point, but why don't you slot the 4? and then, hopefully you'll be able to make that point with another 6, right? So you slot the 4, and then if you roll another 6, then this checker can cover nicely. And just in case something happens, there's no guarantee, it's kind of unlikely, but you never know. So you do also have to, weigh, the, risks of losing a gammon, but also, building your board just in case. You never know. Be ready for if good things happen. Okay. And white takes off a couple checkers. And black's in again. Now, remember, okay, in general, if you've got a high anchor, you're playing against a high anchor like this, generally, you like to have some flexibility here. So there's no need to move or clear these points quite yet. If you can just rip checkers off from behind the anchor, right? Because let's say you move this one, then 6-2s leave a shot. But this is, the sort of 0 position where if you keep this structure as long as you can, you're not going to leave a shot. Okay, until maybe, black is going to have to run from the anchor, and then you can have attack possibilities and things like that as well with these spare checkers. Yeah. So try to keep that in mind. If you can avoid it, try to keep some spare checkers on the high points in front of a high anchor. Yeah. Okay, well, black should make a run for it. He could play 6-1, but no, you want to make sure you don't risk a gammon, right? It would be putting white back into the game here. So this is the best way to make sure you're not going to get gammoned. Okay, so 4-3. Again, keeping 2 checkers, 2 spares here, right? So again, a 0 position, yeah, instead of clearing the 6. 5-4, runs in, okay. And he does have a 5-point board, which is nice. Okay, 4-1, white has to lose his 0 position, as it were. Okay, and so next roll, if black doesn't have to run, then there's a possibility of leaving a shot. Yeah. And black doesn't have to run. Black slots the 1 point, and white leaves a shot. So yeah, you never know, right? It's really funny, backgammon, and no matter how much you think you're playing accurately and taking the right checkers off, these things happen. So sometimes you wonder, can I ever play a game without some last minute drama? But I guess that's also turns to your advantage sometimes too, right? When you're the one defending. But black misses the shot. White's still in this match. So in this case, yeah, black might as well just run. White is unlikely to leave a blot, and in fact, if he rolls high doubles, black could be in trouble if he stays. So time to run to save the gammon. Yeah, and he saved the gammon. So white wins 2 points, and now, yeah, white's a little closer, right? Not so desperate as it was before. So now it's 2 away and 5 away. Okay, so yeah, when you're far behind, remember, really get ready to use that cube. You don't want to lose your market, and try to squeeze the 2 points out of the position if you can. But make sure you do have an advantage, right? When you do it. We're not talking about post Crawford after Crawford game. We're talking when your opponent is like 2 points away and you still got a ways to go. You really have to be aggressive with that cube. Okay, and again, be careful about automatic moves in unbalanced match score games, right? Because in some cases, you got to change your thinking. You got to be more aggressive, or in some cases, you have to play a little more safely. It depends, but if you do have time, then give it some extra thought, because maybe the position dictates for some different thinking due to the match score. Great. Okay. I hope, it was a kind of a short one. I hope you enjoyed it. And let's see if White can continue the comeback, in game 5. Okay. Hope to see you then. Thanks.